I would like to thank Coco 2005 for sending me this story. Now, before I actually get into this, just looking at the bottom picture, you have 5 black boys. And when I see the 5 boys, I immediately think of the Central Park 5. And this story right here is going to kind of remind you of it, but not so much because the stories are kind of different, but mainly because it's 5 of them. But this story feels like, just reading the title alone, which I'm going to read, it feels like 1950s, 1960s Jim Crow in 2019. And you're about to find out what I mean. This article is coming from NBCnews.com, and it's titled, African American teens say they were handcuffed and attacked by canines at an Alabama mall. Handcuffed and attacked by a canine. Doesn't that sound very Jim Crow-ish like? That sounds just like something out of the Jim Crow playbook or handbook, however you want to call it. And I can only assume that the pig in the picture above is one of the cops, if not the cop that's responsible for this. So let me go ahead and read this article. The attorney for a group of 5 African Americans planned to file a lawsuit after the youth said they were racially profiled, handcuffed, and one bitten by a dog while shopping at a mall in Mobile, Alabama. Attorney L. Chris Stewart said at a news conference Monday that the youths, who range from age 15 to 20, were at the shops at Bel Air late last month to buy clothes for the 4th of July holiday when they were approached by a mall security canine officer. Stewart said the officer, who was employed by the security company Allied Universal, got out of his car with his hand on his gun and immediately went into attack mode. That's one thing that people will come to know when it comes to these pigs in blue, especially the Caucasian ones. They always, whenever they approach black people, especially black males, no matter what the age is, they always have their hand on their gun immediately, because in their eyes, when they see us, they immediately see a threat. That's the immediate thing that they see is a threat, and they always have their hand on their gun. And then, of course, if something happens, then they'll go into the whole spiel of them fearing for their life and all of that crap. The officer shoved the boys against the wall, handcuffed them as officers with the Mobile Police Department arrived to provide backup, Stewart said. Allied Universal said in a statement that its security officer and an officer with the Mobile Police Department were responding to a report of a fight in progress at the mall's entrance. We assisted with a Mobile police officer in helping to detain an individual who was uncooperative and physically resisted police orders. Of course, they had to throw that part in there about resisting arrest. And you know what? They love to put that in there just so when Palm Color gets wind of this, they can have a reason to say, they shouldn't have been resisting. Meanwhile, they be the main ones that be getting into all kinds of altercations with these police officers and somehow live to tell the tale. Stewart said the group was playing around and chasing each other like every other teenager does. But in this establishment, black males aren't even allowed to be children. According to Stewart, when Cameron Robinson, age 16, accused officers of racial profiling, the mall security officer grabbed him by the neck and slammed him on his head. The officer then let his canine out of the car and the dog attacked Robinson, biting him on the arm. Stewart said the teen also suffered a head injury from being slammed. The mall at Bel Air tried to kill 5 young boys mentally and 1 physically, Stewart told reporters. Attorney Justin Miller, who is also representing the teens, compared the use of canine to when police officers used dogs to attack African Americans during the Civil Rights era. That's just what I said right at the beginning of this article. It felt like Jim Crow all over again. You have kids here with dogs being sicked on them like it's 1957. It's ridiculous that it's still happening in 2019 in Mobile, Alabama. It's not that really surprising. This is Alabama we're talking about here. After all, Alabama ranks number 50 out of 50 in education, which means they are on the bottom as far as education goes, which loosely translates to it's a lot of dumbasses down in Alabama. And many of them hold high-ranking government positions. It's ridiculous that this happening anywhere, but it's definitely ridiculous to be happening in a mall in Mobile, Alabama. It's ridiculous, but it's not shocking. Robinson said he spent 2 days in the hospital. What scared me the most was when he forced me to the ground aggressively and let the dog out on me. A spokesperson for the police department told NBC News on Tuesday that they are conducting an investigation into the use of force because the mall security officer used his canine. They will also review the mall security policy and procedures. Robinson was also charged with disorderly conduct, resisting arrest, and possession of marijuana after officers found weed in his pocket, the spokesperson said. Nathaniel Henderson, age 20, who was chaperoning the group, was charged with disorderly conduct. The other teenagers involved were released to their parents with petitions forthcoming. Stewart said he wants the charges dropped and wants the mall security officer fired. In addition, Stewart said he wants the mall to discontinue its use of canine patrols. He plans on filing the lawsuit in state court this week. It's outrageous that a mall would hire an attack dog to patrol a mall. A spokesperson for the mall did not immediately return to a request for comment. According to the local media outlet Solin Proud, the mall added a canine officer in November 2018. So this is less than a year ago when they decided to do this. Now, there was another article that I did see where it says that there is a lawsuit that is being filed, and I think they said it's in the amount of $25 million. As a matter of fact, let me see if I can pull that image up right now. Here it is right here. This is the boy right here that that the K9 was released on. And they said $25 million lawsuit expected to be filed over K9 attack. Good. But that officer also needs to be fired. Make sure he does not get any kind of other job working for law enforcement. And I need to go back to this article one more, like just kind of skim through it, because I want to see, did they even mention the officer's name? Because I don't even think they mentioned his name. They just, they didn't talk about him. They did not mention, nope, nowhere. They are protecting this person. Now you have his image. I showed you in the first one. They don't even say his name. We don't have a badge number, nothing. They are merely protecting this guy. It didn't even mention anything about him being on even administrative leave, which means he's probably still posted up at that mall as if nothing happened. And you know they like to overextend, or I should say embellish these stories about stuff that happens just so they can have a reason to go mess with somebody. Especially one that looks like us. I swear they get a hard on when they get to mess with black men or black males in their case, because they're still considered boys, with the exception of the one who is 20. But yeah, this is like I said, this is like Century Park 5 all over again, mixed with Jim Crow. Like, you have two events that happened in history that involved us, and they got wrapped into one package in this one instance. But like I said, none of this even remotely surprises me. If you're in 2019 and as many stories as I've talked about involving stuff like this still shocks you, then I need you to wake the hell up. Like, really. Because they will not do this. They will not do this to palm-colored boys. They just won't do it. And we've seen so many instances where you've had them attack cops, try to take their gun. I've seen one where they've actually gotten into fights with cops and then hopped in the cruiser and drove off with it. All kinds of stuff. But with us, we are the immediate threat. That's why when I hear stories about them committing suicide, I don't feel a damn thing. Or whenever I hear stories about them posting racist statements online and whatnot, I don't feel a damn. Well, that doesn't surprise me. Because I swear, a lot of them get into law enforcement just so they can have a reason to go out and kill a black person. Shoot, with the way this element is right there, why even go through all the hassle? Many of them have been doing that without having to wear a badge. Look at Hannah Payne. She killed a black man who got into an accident, and she took it upon herself to act as she was doing some kind of good deed, and she shot and killed that man. But I hope everything works out for the best for these boys. As for that cop, he can go straight to hell. But y'all let me know what you think about this down in the comments. Like, share, subscribe. I will talk to you in the next one.